Good afternoon, this is OTC. I trade with Bearable Trader Community, and this is my live recap of JPM. So before I jump into the video recap, just wanted to show this 5-minute chart and just show how this stock sold off all day long. So all the way down to a few days ago, tinfoil line, which is a pre-market level, the 8 a.m. candle wicks. So it sold off until, what would that be, 3 p.m. and then as you can see here, I caught a climactic reversal, 2 entries, and then partial all the way up to the 50 SMA on the 5, or almost to VWAP here. So let's pull the live video over and take a look at that. So start running here, and you'll notice that I started the video a little late, but already moved my stop loss to break even. As I mentioned, caught that big drop here. Watched that big drop happen, and then put a partial entry on this after the climactic volume here and a couple of indecision candles. And then this candle here gave a nice jump to the upside, buying pressure. So on the next one, looking at it as a 3-bar play, I watched this retrace down. It quickly got pushed up, so this would not close for the 3-bar play. If this closed at more than 30% or 33% of this previous candle to the downside, then I would not have added the position, but it pushed right back up, so I got in as close to the downside here, as close to my previous entry as possible. So got a good average there on my full position. Then as you can see here, I took my first partial. This stock was running on pretty low RVOL for the day, and then on top of that, can pull it up over here, bring it over real quick. You can see here that financials sold off 1.29% loss today, so a lot of weakness in the XLF, which is the spider ETF. Good way to monitor what has happened in financials. But here, actually, stop loss is not quite at break even, giving it a little room in case it pulled back, given this weakness. I didn't see this really going down to retest the low of day at this point, because I'll take a few panic partials here thinking it will, because the SPY is reversing, but at this point that we're looking at in the video, I didn't see that happening because of the big sell-off, right? So I felt pretty comfortable about the trade up to this point, but I did take my first partial at the 20 EMA on the 2, and that was a small partial. I believe it was 10%. So then I'll speed it up a little bit. Consolidates quite a bit here. Then I'm looking at I take another partial as it comes up, take another 10% as it comes up to this 50 on the 1. You'll see it there. Got a bad fill actually on that one. I was looking to take the partial up at the average, but you can say I took 20% off now on the 20 EMA on the 2, because that was basically the same level. So speed it up a little. So then you'll see it starts to retrace back and gets a nice little pop there, and I missed a partial on that one. And then I see the weakness come in because I was watching the SPY, and I just clicked over to Workhorse just to take a look at what it was doing. It'll come back, there it is, back to JPM. So then it started looking like the SPY had turned over and was showing a lot of weakness, and the next 3 partials here, which were relatively small in position, or what I call panic partials. I shouldn't have taken them. Pay more closer attention to the fact that although the SPY was selling off, JPM was actually just consolidating. So if the SPY would have been driving this stock at this moment, it would have sold off pretty hard, because the SPY did sell off pretty hard. So Took a small partial there again on the 50 SMA as it can't claim it. So I'm looking for this to hold and then for the pop to happen. So I took that partial, losing strength here, run it forward a little. I think that continues for a minute, few minutes. Then again, as it pops through, I take a couple of partials just to make sure that I'm above. But as you can see, this partial, these partials here are basically all at the 20 EMA, and each one is probably a penny lower than this first partial. So I do consider all these, in hindsight, right, panic partials. But profits are locked in. So at this point, I think I still have, after this partial, I still have, well, there you go, that many shares left. So I still have a strong position. You can see here how many shares I have left. I have a $100 stock. So although I took quite a few partials here, still had a strong position in this. So I took a partial on that bump. Good pressure. Consolidating, waiting to see what the SPY is going to do. Getting closer to the close, so almost 30 minutes left in the day. Now the next partial is going to be there on the 5 minute, so at the 15 EMA on the 5. Took another partial there. That one was, looks like about 20%, because it's 268 to 201 shares. And that was at a good spot in terms of the 1 minute action. Speed it up. Continues to consolidate, comes back down, still testing that 50. Still trying to test that 50 on the 1. But at this point, I didn't partial anymore because I noticed that now you've got the 20 and the 9 on the 1 above the moving average. And this candle here on the 5 closed above the 9 EMA on the 5. So looking for this to make a bigger move up. There's another nice little pop. Looking at on the 1. Comes back, retraces. So this kind of action can spook you out of a trade, but keep in mind this was the reason this is happening is because it's on pretty low R-vol, right, 77%. But again, because this thing had sold off so hard all day long, it's got to make up some ground and try to get up to VWAP. At least that was my thesis. So another pop of energy there. Looking at the 1 minute chart. Speed it up. I set an order to sell, looks like 75% of the position at this point, of the remaining position at the 100 SMA on the 1 minute, which would also be a good take in terms of taking partials off the 5. That's the 20 EMA on the 5. So in an ideal world, I want to be taking partials off of the 5 minute chart or the 15 minute chart. So would be a good partial. So run it. There's the burst of energy, gets through on good buying power, on good volume, gets through. My partial is filled, and now I'm down to probably about 10% of my total position. So speed it up. Next partial will be here at the 150. That's a daily level. So holding that 100 SMA, which is also the 50. We like that this guy got through on good energy, and this guy opened, this candle opened above it on both the 2 and the 1. So that, in my mind, is confirmation that it's still, that it's going to hold and go higher. Comes back down, retests. So a little bit of weakness here. Looks like I moved my stop loss and start marking some pivot points. If it loses now this new intraday pivot point line that I drew in, I will bail on the trade. Doesn't do so, reclaims all that loss there, so just wicking out. But all that is probably happening because of the low RVOL, right? It's a big fight between bids and offers. So now it's making its way up to my next level, partial level there at the red line, 100.51. Oh, looks like I take another partial on, so there were 25, so I took a 10% partial or 20% partial on that pop. And now we're taking a partial there up at the daily level. The remaining shares, not too many left, but I just set a range order. You can see it come in there on the 2-minute chart. I just set a range order for the break of the 100 SMA, and I walked away, was no longer watching or in essence managing this trade. Got my stop loss in place and I've got my range order in place, so it goes one way or the other. I'm either all out the remaining shares or I get my order filled. Speed it up, order gets filled. Another good consolidation, but right, we're up to the next level here, then make a push. Now we're up to the next level here, and then it's going to make another push to get to the next level. Good volume on this candle to lift. And there's good volume to lift through that 200 SMA and got my order. So all done, all out of my position. Continues to play. Let's speed it up, see what it does. I believe it goes a little higher. Yeah, it makes another pop to 170, 100.75, 100.80, and then comes back down. Has a hard sell-off of triple the amount of shares that were traded all day long. Something like 775,000 there on the last candle at the close to sell off. But that's the end of the video there. I'll pull just a recap over showing here. So I give this trade a grade A+ because I was patient and waiting. My entry was small. Then my add to the position was on confirmation of the move. Could probably deduct some points just because of these panic partials, but they are somewhat justified since the RVOL was so low. Could have been more patient in taking partials, but the upside to these partials were that all these partials were on they're either 20% or 10%, so didn't take off too much of the position. When I was up to this point, I still had 175 shares left, so still a good amount of position on a stock that's valued at right around $100 per share. Partialed all the way up to that 100 SMA, 200 SMA on the one, and as I showed, this thing sold off all day long. Here's my trade. Pointing out this could have been a tough trade because financials were down in terms of a sector today, so pretty happy with this trade. Some things to improve as always. Trade management overall was pretty good except for those panic partials. Happy about my decisions dealing with this low RVOL, partial entry, and then add to position on confirmation. So overall, pretty good trade. And that's my live review on JPM today. Thank you.